All right, so now we are ready to start tackling some of our custom functions and formulas. Because of the nature of these tasks, I'm hoping that you'll feel more comfortable at this point where you're going to be able to actually go in and solve the problems without any sort of guidance. The training wheels are coming off, you could say. We're going to be looking at this, and I'm not going to describe or give the exact solutions, but I'm more going to describe the strategy and the approach that you should take to try to solve this. All right. So what we have here is Ricky's landscaping business. All right. And this is for the month of October 2020. Ricky is a young entrepreneur trying to start his landscaping business. He recently found out that spreadsheets can be used to track expenses and incomes to see just how well his company is doing. He has hired you as a consultant to help him finalize the profitability formulas at the bottom of his expenses report. In cell C29, create a function that adds up all of his incomes. In cell D29, create a function that adds up all of his expenses. In cell F29, subtract the expenses, D29, from the incomes, C29, so Ricky can see how much profitability his business is making. He will continue to use this sheet for future months. So let's see exactly what they're talking about on those cells. So if I scroll down a little bit, I think these are the ones that we're talking about. So what we have here is the item that Ricky did, all right, either buying something or doing a service or something like that, and he's kept the date also logged, and then he puts the numbers in this first column to see if it's an income, meaning that he's receiving money for doing work. For example, he mowed a lawn and received $50 from the Smith family. Raking leaves, he received $25 from the Suarez family. He mowed the lawn again, made another $50 from the Smith family. But if we look in the other column, these are his expenses, meaning the things that he had to pay to get his business going. For example, he bought a lawnmower from Home Depot, and it cost him $225. Buying a gas container, looks like he bought something to hold the gas, sure. Buying the gas for the lawnmower at the gas station. So it looks like Ricky's trying to keep track of all the different things that he's doing for his business. All right. So what we need to do, like it said in cell C29, create a function that adds up all of the incomes. So we would probably do something that maybe adds up all of these. The sum would probably be a good function to use. And then we also want to do the same thing for the expenses, where Ricky is figuring out how much the costs are. So at the bottom, this cell right here is going to have a grand total of how much money he's made. This next box here is going to have a grand total of how much he spent. And then finally, to find the profitability, how profitable or how much money profit Ricky's business is making, what I would do is I would make this cell equal to this cell minus this cell, right? Because this is the amount of money that he's received, this is the amount of money that he's spent, so this should be the total of one item subtracted from the other. All right. Task number 2, what we're looking at is the Adidas Athletic Shoe Store, okay? Let's see. Adidas is creating a sale on older athletic footwear in one of their stores. They will be offering a 9% discount to all shoes purchased during the weekend sale. As an employee for Adidas, you are being asked to finalize the chart provided to help customers see the discount they are receiving, along with the final sale price of the product during the sale. In column D, calculate 9% of the total price. And in column E, provide the final price the customer would end up paying. This can be calculated by subtracting the discount from the price. Oh, okay, there we go. So let's take a look. Looks like these are all the Adidas brand. Okay, looks like there are a bunch of different types of shoes that exist. Athletic wear, basketball shoes, golf shoes, running shoes. Just a bunch of different shoes that have different types of uses. Then we have in this column the price. So what we would need to do on here is we would need to calculate 9% of the price. Let me just move this back. That looks a little bit better. So remember, when we're working with a percentage, right, Let's say I wanted to find 9% of, let's say, $12, right? What I would do is it'd be the 12 times 0.09. That should have been a decimal. And when I press enter, even though I don't have any cells that I'm referencing, we can still see the process. The 9% of $12, remember it's 0.09. If it were 15%, it would be 0.15, and we would be able to find whatever numbers that we need. So you're going to need to find not the $12 that I'm talking about, but the cell value up here times the representation of the decimal. So I can even show you that right here. Down here at the bottom, instead of where it's supposed to be, all right? So for this first shoe, it is $5.40. To find the final price, I would need to take the $60 and subtract the $5.40 from it to arrive at our final price. And again, this is something you should feel more comfortable with in calculating after we've used all of these different functions and formulas. All right, so that's the only responsibilities that we have on this, so these two columns. And remember, you can extend your formulas. You don't need to rewrite them. Task number 3, let's take a look at what we're working with here. All right, this looks like some sort of business has each of their employees working for them. All right, so these are all the employees that work. And these look like they're the hours that the employee has worked each of those days. So for example, Felipe has worked 0 hours Monday, 0 hours Tuesday, 8 hours Wednesday, 8 hours Thursday, 4 hours Friday, 4 hours Saturday, and 4 hours Sunday. So the first thing that we need to fill in on here is the total hours worked. Well, that's just the sum function, so we can figure that out quite easily. All right, so and that tells us that exactly how many hours each of these employees have worked during the week. If we scroll down to the bottom, it's also asking us for a total of all the hours worked. It's a good idea for a company to see exactly how many hours all of their employees work in a given week. It helps them figure out, when they need to hire more employees, whether or not employees feel overwhelmed, or anything else like that. But once we've figured out the total hours worked for each employee and the total at the bottom, now what we want to do is take the total hours that they've worked and multiply it times their hourly wage. This is how much each of the employees make per hour. So for example, this person, Felipe, worked 8, 16, 20, 24, 28 hours total. So this first cell should have a function that gives 28 as the solution. The total paid section is going to be equal to the hourly wage times the total hours worked. And that will express how much money has to be paid to this employee based on the hours that they have worked for the week. And what we're essentially making is a spreadsheet that helps the business track all of their expenses and all of their payments without having to sit in here and calculate for each single employee with a calculator. It can be very tedious and very time wasting. If you make one of these spreadsheets, all you have to do is update the hours, or even better, find a system that it plugs in the hours into here, and it will give you exactly how much money needs to be paid to each of the employees. Once you've figured out the total paid, at the bottom, we just want to find the sum of all of these numbers in this column, because the business wants to track exactly how much money is leaving the business and going out to those employees. All right, and then finally, we have task number 4. All right, this is another example of a bill or a check that we want to work with. Let me just update this a little bit so we can read it just a little bit easier. Did a lot of writing on here, so there we go. All right. So, welcome to TGI Wednesdays. Original name. This restaurant is testing a new system involving Google Spreadsheets as a new tool for calculating the check owed. This activity will give the restaurant insights on if suggesting a tip at the bottom helps people leave tips more generously for their employees. So it looks like on here, a bunch of friends went out to order some food, right? Mozzarella sticks, salsa and chips, hamburger with cheese and tomato, french fries, chef salad, personal pizza, veggie burger, some sodas, water, some desserts, bunch of different stuff on here. And what they've listed here is the cost per item, right? So mozzarella sticks cost $4.99 each. Salsa and chips cost $2.99 each. Hamburger with cheese costs $12.99. But if we notice on the next column, we have the quantity, right? So yes, mozzarella sticks were ordered and they're $4.99 each, but we ordered 2 of them. So what we want to do on here is figure out exactly how much the cost will be for all of the mozzarella sticks ordered. And how you would do that is this cell would be equal to the cost times the quantity. So this first one would be equals cell B4 times cell C4. And then the same idea would apply for this, same idea for this, same idea for this, same idea for this, going all the way down until we figure out all the total costs for these items. Then we're going to do an additional thing. We're going to find the subtotal. The subtotal is just basically where you take all of the total costs for items and add them all up together. A sum function would help you out here. Then we're going to calculate the tax. All right. So on the instructions, there is a section that will help us with that, right? Then you want to find the tax on the subtotal. You can do this by multiplying the subtotal, so that's this cell, times 0.08875. And that's a decimal conversion for 8.875% sales tax. So this item should be a smaller amount than this. It should be a little bit less than 10% of it. So, you can kind of look at that and make a judgment call to see if your numbers are accurate. Then we're going to go another step further. We're going to find the grand total, right? This grand total is equal to the subtotal plus the tax. And that's a pretty simple function that we can use. Then we're going to go one step further, and this is where the actual application of this program will work. If you've ever been out to a restaurant, out to eat, enjoying a meal with your friends or family or whoever, there are suggested tip amounts that you should give for your waiter or waitress, right? So oftentimes, if you have good service, you leave a 15% tip. That's 15% of the subtotal. So if the subtotal came out to $23, it's not because it's a lot more expensive things. But if it did, 15% would be 0.15 times that amount. So this suggested tip is going to be equal to 0.15 times whatever this cell value is, which is cell D16. Then we're going to also calculate the suggested tip at 18%. That's 0.18 times the subtotal cell. And then we're also going to calculate it at 20%, which is 0.20 times the cell value in the subtotal. Once you get the suggested tips, we're going to finally find the entire total, which is going to be this total of 15% tip will be this cell plus this cell. The total with 18% tip will be this cell plus this cell. And the total with 20% tip will be this cell plus this cell. All right. Now, these are going to be a little tricky. They're going to be a little difficult. It's important that you take your time with it and you really try to look at the intention behind each of these questions. Right? Each task shows your ability to not only make custom formulas and functions, but also to apply them in a very logical way. Take your time with this. Refer back to other videos if you need, and if you need any extra help, you know how to reach out to me. All right. Wishing you all the best of luck on this. Remember to take your time, and every single one of you has this.